It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Chad Erickson, for that introduction. We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes on this Wednesday edition of the show. David Aardsma will be here in about 10 minutes. Preview the National League with him for a couple of segments today. Vlad Lewisant will be here later in the show with Kurt Helin, our weekly NBA chat with those guys. And something we haven't had on Wednesday for a while, Sam Yarnell is here from an undisclosed location in the DMV. Yeah. And hangs out with us on the program today for a few segments as well, for our baseball preview as well as some betting props coming up in odds and ends today on the show. Oh, he's got the handy little notebook. What is that written on? Is that like stationery from somewhere?
No, it's just a little notepad. I can rip it off, and now I got a new sheet. It's just a little notepad.
Didn't know if it was like special stationery or something like that. All right, we got some news from the NFL.
I don't know where you think I come from, but wow, I'll take that as a compliment.
Could have been like a hotel pad that you just took out of the hotel room or something like that.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
So let's talk about the news from the NFL, which came down on Tuesday night. The Giants wind up winning the Russell Wilson sweepstakes, I guess you could say. They signed the veteran quarterback to a one-year deal with incentives that can get all the way up to $21 million. I think $10 million guaranteed is the number we got. So that's the other shoe that drops for the Giants when it comes to the quarterback spot after they signed Jameis Winston. So they went and got the backup first and then signed Russell Wilson? Or are these two guys going to compete for the starting job? Are the Giants still going to draft a quarterback to go along with those two? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine at this point, Sam. It feels like the Giants are just loading up and getting everything they can in terms of, who can play the quarterback position for them this year, and they'll see what works.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I could see any of the outcomes you mentioned happening, and I could see them winning anywhere between 4 and 9 games with any of those outcomes.
Yeah.
See, the Giants are starting to fall apart at the seams. I'm really sorry I have to say that to you, Jason Page, but what are we doing here, folks? At this point now, you're paying Jameis Winston really good backup money, and you're paying Russell Wilson really bad starter money, and you've got a quarterback pick in the draft. That part doesn't make sense to me. And then you think about just the football side of it. Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, not really the same quarterback at all. Russell Wilson, pretty good at protecting the football. Jameis Winston, reckless abandon when the football's in his hands. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that gets you a 30-30 season, which again, we've seen one time in NFL history. All of that said, it really feels like this is Daboll and Shane grasping at straws and just hoping that something works.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you on that. It feels like the Giants are sort of a ship without a rudder right now when it comes to some of the decision-making that we're seeing. And look, if you go and draft a quarterback, I mean, he's going to be number 3 on your depth chart. I mean, that's essentially what you've already decided.
Right.
It's a bit perplexing because I
or
still
Russ
wouldn't be
number
shocked.
2.
I still wouldn't be shocked if they went and if they went and drafted a quarterback. Here at the top of the draft. I would not be shocked at all. Hold that thought. We'll get to it in just a moment after words from our friends over at Edge Boost because, the NCAA tournament is going on right now. So you got to go and hit it, right? You got to go and make your cash. Well, right now, our friends from Edge Boost want to tell you about the Edge Boost Visa debit card. And Edge Boost is the financial platform paying you cash back to wager. It's an online bank account paying you for every deposit. And with the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. That's free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're doing already. And it's a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and it'll never be declined for gambling activity. They've got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. So stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet to learn more and sign up today with our friends from Edge Boost. That's edgeboost.bet, and use my promo code WRAP, W-R-A-P, when you click that or scan that QR code. Edgeboost.bet, promo code WRAP, and get a free upgrade to your account. All right, Sam Yarnell, you were saying.
Oh, sorry, I was busy.
All right.
Here's what I was saying. It seems like this move to me moves the Giants from Shedeur Sanders territory to Tyler Shuck territory. To me, this just smells of, we're going to take a quarterback early in the second round. We'll use our first round pick on another skill position player, try to build some sort of a team, some sort of a 22-man roster, and then we'll figure out other pieces later in the draft. And Tyler Shuck is a guy whose name has been circulating seemingly without end.
Yeah.
And it feels like New York just seems to be that landing spot where he goes to be, as you mentioned, the third string.
What is the worst case scenario to me is if Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston play really well this year and the Giants win 9 games, and then you're stuck trying to figure out, do we keep one of these guys? Now, what if Jameis Winston has a 28-15 year? And the Giants win 9 games, and they're competing for a wild card spot. Now you're stuck because the fans are going to be like, "Oh my God, Jameis Winston's the savior," and you're an organization that's trying to figure out, all right, are we going to get a quarterback in next year's draft? Has Jameis Winston turned a corner? There's a lot about this that is going to be fascinating to watch. Real quick, where does it leave Aaron Rodgers now? It has to be Pittsburgh, right? Or is that we've now heard J.J. McCarthy come out and tell Kay Adams that the Vikings haven't preordained him as the starter for 2025. Maybe Rodgers still lands in Minnesota after the draft. Maybe they are willing to wait for Aaron Rodgers at this point.
Rodgers landing in Minnesota would be embarrassing on a plethora of levels at this point because the organization already came out and said that they weren't interested in it. So whatever they said to J.J. McCarthy, who went on whatever show and said whatever, I don't care. That organization, if they walk that back really far, man, that's going to be a huge turn for the worse for them. He'll either go to Pittsburgh or do what we've been saying, Jason, and wait until someone gets hurt.
Well, he's going to play somewhere next year. That is my prediction. He's not retiring. He will play somewhere next year. Just picking and choosing his spot. We'll do a National League baseball preview. David Aardsma is next. All right, we keep things moving on this Wednesday edition of SportsWrap from the NFL and the news of Russell Wilson's signing. Back to baseball. I said we were doing baseball previews this week. We did the American League yesterday. We welcome back in David Aardsma, former MLB reliever, to hang out with Sam and myself. Talk about the National League today on the show. I'm sporting my Ken Griffey Jr. shirt. Hold on. I'll move to the side.
Love it.
There it is.
Love it.
From the folks over at Baseballism. You should see what I got planned for opening day tomorrow. Wait until you see the shirt I got planned for opening day. David's actually already seen it. I sent it to him in a text message over the weekend. Sam, you'll have to wait until tomorrow. Let's do the National League. And look, start it with the Dodgers because obviously it begins and ends with them considering what they accomplished last year. And, David, you and I kind of touched on it last week a little bit when we were previewing some of the top storylines for 2025. You don't think it's going to be as easy for them as I do?
I don't think it's going to be as easy for them as a lot of people. At the same time, they're going to win the division, and they're the best team in baseball. It's we're splitting hairs here at the same. Like we're talking
and
about.
Good night, everybody.
Right, they're a great team, but again, I think when they get, especially getting that West, when they play those teams in the East, it is going to be tough games. It's going to be tough games every single time they play the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Phillies, Mets, the Braves and the Cubs. I think it's going to be close. It's not going to be just a cakewalk for them running through this thing. Again, I love all the moves they made. How can you not love the moves they made? Again, but there's something on every single guy. There's just something like Blake Snell can't get through 4 innings, right? Yamamoto health has not been there. Sasaki, we're still waiting to see exactly who he is. Again, young phenom, it's amazing. Glasnow hasn't been healthy. May hasn't been healthy. Gonsolin's going to be in AAA and hasn't been healthy. Like we go down the list, like all of their pitchers basically haven't been healthy. They've made all the right moves. They're pressing all the right buttons. I just don't think it's going to be as easy as some people think.
Let me, before Sam jumps in, just to follow up on that. We talk about hangovers in other sports. We saw it with the Nuggets after they won a championship. We've seen it with the Celtics this year, where there's points where they just look like they're in cruise control, in the regular season. Do those sorts of hangovers take place? Not that you've been on not to insult you, you haven't been on a championship team per se, but do those same hangovers take effect in baseball the same way we talk about them in other sports?
They absolutely can be. Now, I was on the 08 Red Sox. They won in 07.
True.
So I got to be there for it. And it was almost the entire same team. It was 23 out of 25 guys. They kept it going. Terry Francona was the glue that kept that going. A lot of times it's the personnel and it's the manager and the front office. And to me, Dave Roberts is a perfect example of who you want. That everybody in that clubhouse they're not the flashy guy that has to like look at me kind of guy. They're just really good. And they've all been on winning teams. That's the thing about it, is all those core players have been on winning teams. It's not like Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman haven't won without the Dodgers. So it wasn't their first time. It might have been their first time as a unit, but they kept this train rolling plenty of times. I don't think there's going to be any hangover for this team, because to me, it's Dave Roberts. The way he handles this is one game at a time. It doesn't matter whether he won or whether he lost. It doesn't matter. We keep rolling. And today or October 20th is still going to be just one game that we have to win.
Fair enough. Before we get to Sam's question, a word from our friends over at Credit Associates. Are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt and over your head trying to make monthly payments? Well, there's a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades. With one affordable low monthly payment, Credit Associates Debt Relief Program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months, and that'll save you thousands of dollars in decades in debt. Find out how much you could save right now. Call 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362 with our friends from Credit Associates, or just scan the QR code below. All right, Sam Yarnell, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so turns out, Jason, we are going to make this whole segment about the Dodgers. We'll get to the other 14 teams in the National League next segment. But David, I had to get your thoughts on what we already saw in Roki Sasaki's debut for the Dodgers. Obviously, the 3 innings, struggled with the walks, struck out 3 guys too. But kind of what was your takeaway from watching him pitch in his first game with the new ball?
Could you imagine being, signing deal, you're being kind of the prized possession of all free agency, all the minor league, the international signings. And then your first game is in Japan for the Dodgers for the World Series champions. Like, to me, I look at that and go, like, everything lined up to be perfect. And you're a young guy, you're 23. God, that's got to be so nervous. Like, you gotta be hard, gotta be pumping. You're in front of your fan. Like, there's nothing like it. And the whole week of festivities, everything building up to going into it, it's got to be tough. And to me, I point a lot of that to the nerves and the excitement and just going out there and actually doing probably what he always dreamed of, going to Major League Baseball. But it's in Japan. Like, it's like the perfect thing that ever happened. It's a lot of its nerves. You might look at it and say, okay, there are definitely things to work on. There's definitely command issues here. And it was a line drive to shortstop away from being a big out, a big inning for the Cubs, and probably a win for the Cubs. a couple things happen, but again, he got out of it. He pitched. That's the biggest thing. It's a check mark for him and the Dodgers. Now it's all right. Relax. We got the first one out of the way. And now it's just play some baseball. And to me, I think he's got incredible stuff. Split's crazy, really good. The slider's good. Fastball's obviously explosive. It's the factor.
I got to get to one thing in the last minute and a half we have here on the Dodgers, because we are truly spending this whole segment on the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw starting the season on the IL. As a veteran pitcher, is that just somebody getting a slower ramp up into the season, especially with a rotation that he knows is deep enough to carry that team at least into June without him? Or is there some level of concern here? Obviously, it's Clayton Kershaw. Do you think this could be the end for him?
I think a lot of this has to do with Clayton Kershaw understanding the process and knowing he wants to be pitching in October and not necessarily have to be pitching in April. We're competitors. We want to be pitching the first game and the last game, and we want to pitch all 162 and the playoffs. It's not realistic. And I think he understands that. And that's the beautiful part about signing Clayton Kershaw. Like, they can tell him, like, okay, this is the rotation. It's going to be really tough, but we're going to find a spot for you, whether it's in bullpen or not, or wherever it is.
Bullpen.
We will find a place for you to pitch. Be the veteran stuff. And I don't think it's the last we've ever seen him by any means. I think we'll see him this year. It's just, you're good. Just take your time.
Clayton Kershaw in the bullpen? Really?
Never know, man. Never know. Why not?
All right. We can expand upon this because we got David for one more segment. We've bolted him to the chair. More on the National League with David Aardsma next. All right. Talk some more baseball with David Aardsma. Hangs out with us on this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. As we preview the National League, we spent the entire first segment on the Dodgers, and rightly so. They are the world champions, so I think that's fair. As we spent much of yesterday on the Yankees and the AL East, which I think is the big story when you talk about the American League. So just one more on the AL West. Is it the Padres that you see as the biggest challenger? We know the news about Jordan Montgomery, Tommy John surgery. Talk to me about this Padres team and sort of where you think they are. Again, talk about hangovers. It felt like last year was almost a hangover year for them from what they did in 23, where they got people so excited down there in San Diego. What do you see when you look at the Padres? Is this a wild card team to you?
Yes, absolutely. It's a wild card team. I think they're going to be competing right for the last wild card team because to me, yes, the hangover effect, and they're not getting a whole lot younger. They need a lot of these players to step up and have bigger years, right? One of the greatest thing that ever happened to them last year was Jackson Merrill come on the scene, because if he wasn't there, this team wouldn't have been even remotely close to the playoffs. Tatis needs to step up. Luis Ariz needs to just keep doing what he's doing and maybe step up even a little bit. Machado needs to have that kind of comeback year, even though he's always been good and it's never been bad. It's just trying to figure out who their identity is, right? Who exactly are the Padres? Who's the guy they're going to rally around? Are they going to go out there every day with that fire, with that excitement? To me, I really like this team. It's just they need to show me a little bit more. Plus, I don't know where the ownership is. I don't know if the ownership's going to back them, if they're truly going to make a move at a trade deadline and give up value for players. It's just, there's so many question marks when it comes down to the dollars and cents of this team. I don't know if they're going to be able to make that big move, if they're going to make that jump and maybe sign somebody. I just don't know exactly what this team is and what their identity is. I have them competing right with the Diamondbacks. One of them are going to make the playoffs. I like the Diamondbacks a little bit more because I think they're a little bit more set. I think this team has more talent. I think the Diamondbacks are a little bit more driven on exactly who they are.
David, I'm done with this West Coast stuff. We got to get off the West Coast. Let's bring it back East. I know you two are both West Coast
it's the best
guys.
Coast.
West Coast, best coast,
baseball.
baby.
There is great baseball coming on the Beast Coast this season, especially in the pitching department. We'll start with the Braves. Obviously, Strider starting the season on the IL, coming back from the season-long injury. Sale, the year he had last year, I don't think anyone is expecting him to replicate, but it seems like they may have a new stud brewing in Spencer Schwellenbach. What are you expecting from the Braves rotation this year, pitching-wise?
Well, Schwellenbach, Lopez, and Sale obviously going to be leading that. Strider's looked amazing in spring. Like, it lights out, like exactly who Spencer Strider is. The problem with the Braves rotation, and this is the kind of same problem with the Dodgers rotation, but without the 30 guys sitting there on the DL waiting to come up or in the minor leagues. They need these guys to be healthy, and they need Schwellenbach to have that next step up year. The dude's a stud. He's absolutely phenomenal. They're going to have Smith Schwarber back, in the rotation as well. He's our number one prospect going into this year. So they're going to have these guys. It's just when you're looking at your fourth and fifth starters and just hoping. That's my problem. That's my only thing about this. And then you're looking at your third starter and saying, okay, I need you to have another great year as year number two. That, to me, sometimes when your fingers are crossed like that, that's when it just doesn't go quite your way, right? But again, Schwellenbach's an absolute stud. Absolute stud. It's just, are we going to see that sophomore year, that second year where the league starts to figure him out a little bit? And that's my only concern. I do like this team a lot. It's just, to me, they've got too many injury problems and too many, like, trying to rely on rookies in the rotation problem, where a lot of these other teams that are going to try to win the championship don't have that.
The Mets and Juan Soto, obviously a marriage made in heaven, if you ask Mets fans. Give me some thoughts on the rest of the makeup of this Mets team, though, when we talk about their prospects in the NL East.
Well, Soto just made the whole team better, right? Everything better. And that's the thing, what he does in that lineup. He makes everybody better. He makes Lindor's at bats easier, Alonso's bats easier, Vientos, Nimmo. It doesn't matter. You go down the line. He makes their bats easier because he's so tough to pitch. He'll take a walk, he'll take that double, he'll take a home run. It doesn't matter. He works the pitchers so much that it makes it so frustrating that by the time you get through him, you're just like exhausted. And that's the beautiful part that Soto brings to the game that you can't really value as well as you can with a lot of the other stats. And so that's the greatest thing about it. And that's why you bring in a guy like Juan Soto, and he's going to be perfect fit for him. And I do love it. It's a perfect marriage. At the same time, it's still the Mets. They'll figure out a way to met it up.
Can we go? Real quick, because we got to get to the NL Central, Sam.
Yeah, but David, are they just going to win every game 8-7? Like, is every Mets game going to be 9-8? They don't have a single. Who is going to pitch for the Mets this year?
Oh, I like the pitching. Clay Holmes, I like him. McGill, like
Clay Holmes. That's right.
Clay Holmes, like Kodai Senga is a good pitcher. Don't get me wrong; they've got some stuff there in the middle, like right where we're not like relying on it. And I told Mets fans this all offseason. You're telling like Pete Alonso how horrible he is. At the same time, you're not going out and getting anybody in a rotation. What are you doing here? Like, what are we trying to do? They're going to pitch just well enough. That's the thing about it. They're going to pitch just well enough. I just don't like the idea that they hit gold last year. On their pitching staff, they just hit gold like out of nowhere, and then they just kind of like, bye, see you guys. Like, you're not good for us. Without backing it up with studs, it's going to catch up. But they are going to win a lot of baseball games, and I think they're going to be like the 8-7s, the 6-5s.
A lot of mediocrity in the NL Central. And we've kind of talked about it on this show.
That's an understatement.
That is, I know, which is why we're spending the least amount of time on it, much like the AL Central, which is kind of, it feels like it's in sort of the same place. Skeens and the Pirates, the Cardinals feel like they've been in purgatory for years. The Brewers are sort of meh, nobody gets you excited. Is it the Cubs division to win?
Cubs, absolutely. They did a great job this offseason, and they filled in all the blanks. They checked all the boxes. They've slowly built a team over time, and that's the only thing we look at this Cubs team. We're like, we don't like them, but they built this team up, and they brought Kyle Tucker's an absolute stud. That rotation is really in a good spot, and they've got some guys in the bullpen. I mean, Ryan Presley is a perfect fit in that bullpen, and they revamped the whole bullpen. I love what they did.
All right. David Aardsma, ladies and gentlemen. Off air, we'll ask him for his division winners, and we'll post that online. This Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap continues, and yes, we did some baseball because we have the National League preview to do with our friend David Aardsma, former big league reliever. But if it's Wednesday, it means we're talking NBA. Two of my favorite humans joining me to do that. The great Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. My man Vlad Lewisant, who you can catch on WQAM radio in Miami, which is where he is today, and hanging out with us, hiding in a studio somewhere. All right, so let's talk some NBA. First off, the news on Damian Lillard. I mean, again, this came out of nowhere. You know, and we saw this same sort of story with Victor Wembanyama with a blood clot, and now you're hearing about it with Damian Lillard. I mean, is he done for the season, essentially?
They're saying there's optimism he'll return because they caught it early, but unlike the shoulder with an arm with or shoulder area with Wembanyama, the leg's more concerning. That's where you get recurring issues. That's the Chris Bosh situation or worse. They're saying, hey, hopefully he can return this year. Hopefully this isn't going to be an ongoing thing. That's what they're saying in their press release, but it is concerning. First off, most importantly, for Damian Lillard long term, that is a life-threatening issue that you have to monitor for a long time. Also, remember the Bucks paid big to get Lillard and Antetokounmpo together to push them back to the top of the East. Antetokounmpo didn't play in last year's playoffs. If you don't have Lillards for this year's playoffs, you're toast pretty early, and this big bet's not paying off.
So does that maybe have Giannis looking to be traded in the offseason?
Every team is waiting to see that. Every team just has that hanging out there. He's still seen as the guy most likely to change teams because he wants to win and because he sees that road ending, essentially. He doesn't see how that path goes forward in Milwaukee. I don't know. I mean, he's also incredibly loyal. So, if he believes they're trying, and they certainly have tried to put together.
But Kurt, they've traded Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
They let Chris Middleton go. They're an older team. And if Dame has, these blood clots could be issues, for the near future. And he's getting older. He's 30? He's 31 years old right now, Giannis. If he's trying to look for a better opportunity to win a title, he might have to look elsewhere.
Look, that's what every other team out there is thinking. He's on the top. Every team has a whiteboard of superstars that might become available. By the way, Luka Doncic really wasn't on that board, and suddenly, boom. But everybody's been watching Giannis for a couple of years. It is looming out there, and teams have this in mind. If he starts to push for it, we'll see if that happens. Remember, they traded Drew Holiday, but they traded Drew to get Dame, and that got Giannis to re-sign an extension there. So that worked in that sense.
Give me a thought on Jimmy Butler's return to Miami last night. All the adulation that you could ask for from the fans, and then they go out and the Warriors put up a clunker, obviously without Stephen Curry.
Yeah, I can say Vlad's there in Miami. He probably has a better feel for it. My big takeaway from that game is, in the last two games, frankly, is they still rely on Steph Curry to do everything. Jimmy, they are not, man. They are not a good team without Steph Curry. So, Vlad, what was the experience, though, like in Miami?
It was crazy all leading up to this game because a lot of people didn't know if they should have. A lot of the fan base did not want a video tribute to him. They felt like he was disloyal. He quit on the team. And eventually I said that if they didn't give it to him that day, they might as well never give it to him. You can't give him a video tribute after the fact. And the Miami Heat, they still want to live up to this very reputable label of being a class organization. And they did that. And the fan got exactly what they want. They got a chance to cheer Jimmy before the game and boo him every time he had the ball. And the Miami Heat won a game. And the fan base got what they want. They won the battle. Nobody's going to know who's going to win the war. Eventually, if you got to look at Jimmy, he kind of won the war because he got what he wanted. He got the $120 million 2-year extension. So, and he's out of Miami. So eventually you could say Jimmy won the war. But from this fan base who've just suffered a 10-game losing streak and they finally won one on Sunday, and they coupled that with a win against Golden State and getting their revenge against Jimmy. Today is a great day in this kind of bad year for the Miami Heat.
They're up to the 9 seed in the East, so hang a banner. I mean, they're almost there, man.
I mean, and look, they're going to make the play-in because there's such a drop-off after number 10 anyway. With them and the Bulls basically at 9 and 10. They're going to make the play-in. It's just a question of, are they going to get destroyed by the Cavaliers or destroyed by the Celtics?
Hey, they might get destroyed by the Bulls, who are suddenly Kobe White's on fire, Josh Giddey's playing well. Suddenly the Bulls, they're not playing bad ball.
No, they've won 8 of 10.
They're messing up the church's money. What are they doing over there? I thought they were trying to get Cooper Flag, and now they're trying to win. They're messing up the church's money. But here's one thing, though, guys, real quick. The Orlando Magic should be scaring top teams right now. If you're a 1-2 seed, you do not want to face the Orlando Magic. They are starting to play the type of ball that they were playing early in the season. The injuries by their 2 superstars slowed down their momentum, but they are starting to play good ball right now.
Kurt, 20 seconds.
He's spot on. Their defense has been back to being top 10, and it's what they had early in the season when they looked threatening. They're getting enough offense from Banchero and, look, he's a beast, and Franz Wagner to go with an elite defense. And even if you're going to beat them, it's going to be a brutal 5-6 game series to do it and wear you down.
Talk about getting enough offense, by the way. Did you see what the Knicks did last night? Something they've never done in the history of that illustrious franchise. Are they still illustrious? I don't know. We're coming back. We'll tell you about it next. All right. One more segment on the NBA with the great Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Vladimir Lewis hanging out with us from WQAM Radio in Miami as well, where they're celebrating a rarity these days, a Heat victory. Hey, they've won 2 in a row. 2 in a row.
Vice uniforms, baby, in the Vice uniforms.
Yeah, those things are hideous. Those things are hideous.
No.
I
love those.
Oh, boy, here we go.
No, don't knock the Vice uniform.
There we go. Boy, did the Knicks do something amazing last night. 2 guys with a triple-double. First time in franchise history. Karl Anthony Towns and Josh Hart teaming up. And boy, let me tell you, man, that Knicks offense, Jalen Brunson, no Jalen Brunson, they still going to score points.
Yeah, they got OG. I mean, they've gone 5-4 without Brunson, by the way, and kept their head above water.
Not surprised. I'm not surprised. I said it when he got hurt. I thought they would keep their heads well above water because that team's got a next man up mentality.
They've done okay. OG with 35 last night, by the way, to step into that role. But I think what's impressive, only 16 pairs of teammates have ever had triple doubles in the same game, and
that's amazing.
Weirdly, and better yet, this is the 3rd one this season because Westbrook and Jokic have done it twice.
Wow, that is.
But look, this is a team playing well enough, I would say, almost to make James Dolan happy, but I don't think that's possible.
I think Dolan's happy. He went on the roommate show. He went on the Brunson and Hart's podcast. He expressed himself happy. He said that he was happy. He's happy.
So the Knicks, it looks like will get the Pistons in the opening round, assuming they can hang on to that 3 spot. They're 3 games clear. 3 games clear of the Pacers, who are playing really good basketball right now.
But Milwaukee might drop.
Yeah, I'm going to say the bigger threat is Milwaukee dropping to 6 because the Pistons are playing well, and Milwaukee, obviously, as we discussed last segment, without Lillard.
It's very true. And it looks like the play-in is pretty much set in the East with the Hawks, Magic, Bulls, and Heat all sort of lining up there unless the Bucks go on a real free fall. Yes, go ahead, Vlad.
Kurt, real quick, in the West, seems like the Lakers' lack of big men is starting to catch up with them because their defense, which was very, very good before LeBron got hurt, is starting to be exposed right now.
But isn't that the product of LeBron getting hurt?
Yeah, but
yes and no. Look, 2 things have happened. They lost to the last 2 games to Orlando, who's been playing great, but also lost to the Bulls before that. What those 2 teams did, get out and run, get these old guys in transition. Jokic, Doncic and LeBron not exactly eager to sprint up and down the court with young legs. But even if they slow it down, the Lakers play a very switching half court off defense. Their strategies, we're going to switch pretty much everything, which works great if you have Rudy Gobert in the paint. They don't. Jackson Hayes may not be the defensive force that Rudy Gobert or some of the big centers there. So the smart teams, hey, we're just targeting X, Y, and Z, right? They went and hunted mismatches and beat them, and it's the model they're going to see in the playoffs. And it should be concerning to Laker fans, not just that they lost a couple, because they'll turn that around a little bit. Their offense will click. They'll start to win some games. But it's how they're losing that should be concerned.
The Rockets won again last night, and they've won 9 of 10. They're now the 2 seed in the West, which is still remarkable to think about, the turnaround that this team has had here under Ime Udoka. Is there anything that leads you to believe, or anything that makes you more of a believer in their ability to make a deep postseason run? Because it doesn't seem like, at least the odds makers don't seem to think that there's still a huge threat out there in the West.
I'm still not sold. I'm just not sold because not only have they not done it, but I just don't know who the alpha is. I don't know who the number one is. I don't know who the guy they turn to in the clutch is.
The go-to guy.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see what that looks like. And I think they're handling this right. Hey, go through the playoffs, see what this looks like. We'll adjust. We'll go find what we've got to find. But I'm just not sold on them winning a round, maybe. It kind of depends on who falls into that 7th seed and how the matchup goes. But I don't think they make much beyond that. And by the way, Ime Udoka's got to get Coach of the Year votes. But between him and Bickerstaff in Detroit and Atkinson, who's theoretically running away with this thing in Cleveland, there's a deep class of really good coaches this year.
It's nuts, though. But it's nuts. He's 40. The Rockets are 49-1 to win the West. And they're the 2nd seed right now. I've never seen anything like it.
Nobody believes in their go-to guy. If you name all the teams in the postseason right now, you can name a guy that if they need a bucket.
I get it. But you don't win 47 games by accident.
They're good. Look, they've got a great defense. They're very good. But I'll ask. All right, Vlad and Jason, who do you trust more in a playoff setting? Memphis or Houston?
Look, you could say Denver. You could say the same thing with Denver or Houston. There's a lot of teams you can trust.
Every team.
But
OKC.
You don't win 47 games by accident. It can't be smoke and mirrors, not over this big a sample size.
Can I just say, by the way, I saw Oklahoma City in person beat the Clippers this week without their 2nd and 3rd best player, no Jay Will, no Chet, and then watched them on TV win, last night. Tuesday night. Honestly, guys, I think they're the best team in the NBA. I think they're going to win it. I know not everybody buys it yet, but I think they are the team that's going to be hoisting the trophy at the end of the season.
I believe it when I see it.
Wait a minute. Everybody say that about OKC.
I know.
How you gonna cape for Houston?
I'm not caping. I'm just saying you don't win that many games by accident. I'm just shocked. Maybe I'm more shocked at the fact. Maybe I'm more shocked by the fact that they are such overwhelming underdogs to come out of the West. 49-1. It's crazy to me.
Their go-to guy, Paige.
Yeah.
Name me their go-to guy.
Me. I'm the go-to guy.
Yeah, you might as well.
I'm the go-to guy. It's gonna do it for us. Always love talking NBA with you guys. Kurt, appreciate it. Check him out. Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Vlad over at WQAM Miami. See you guys.
Take care.
Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Wednesday. A reminder. Make sure to check out SportsWrap with Jason Page, the podcast. Subscribe now. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it. We are on all of them. You can also watch us daily on Spotify and just about every day over on YouTube when they don't feel like throwing copyright blocks at us. So go and check that out and subscribe today. Also check out my new YouTube Shorts. We are posting there every day as well. Whenever there's breaking news outside of our recording window for this show, go and check that out as well. Without any further delays, it's time for some odds and ends presented by our friends at Edge Boost. We're all about taking sports betting to the next level on this show, and that's why I am pumped to tell you about our friends at Edge Boost, the financial platform paying you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account that pays you for every deposit, and with the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. Free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're doing already. It's a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and it'll never, ever be declined for gambling activity. They've got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. So stop leaving money on the table. Listen to your Uncle Jason. Visit edgeboost.bet to learn more and sign up today. That's edgeboost.bet. And make sure to scan our QR code right there. Use my promo code WRAP, W-R-A-P. That's WRAP, W-R-A-P, and get a free upgrade to your account. Sam Yarnell. Baseball season is upon us. As people could tell if they get a glimpse of my Ken Griffey Jr. shirt I decided to break out for the show today. Baseball season is upon us. Your best bets, your favorite bets, the wagers that everybody needs to know about. Go ahead.
I have 7 of them for you, Jason Page, and I do think this is the National League, obviously. We did the American League yesterday. Go back and watch yesterday's show if you want my American League picks. Here's what I got for the National League, and I'll start with my homer picks because I do know more than maybe anyone about the Washington Nationals. That's a joke. It's not true. I know it's not true. I just wanted to be funny. All right, James Wood over the 18.5 home runs. I like that prop for the season long this year, -104. Interesting market I found on DraftKings. Over on DK, you can bet head-to-head markets. I like the Washington Nationals -135 to win more games than the Los Angeles Angels this year. I think that is a very safe bet, and I think you don't have to lay a lot of juice for it to come to fruition. Elsewhere, minor props, I'm playing 2 other DK markets. Dylan Cruz to steal 30-plus bases at +155, and Luis Garcia Jr. to drive in 70-plus runs, 70-plus RBIs at even money, +100. All right, elsewhere in the National League, I think it's a bounce back year for Ronald Acuna Jr. this year. I know he's starting the season on the IL, which is why I think a lot of his numbers have deflated in multiple regards. I don't think he'll contend for any awards this year. I do think he'll get to 80 RBIs in what is a prolific Braves offense. Give me Ronald Acuna Jr. to drive in 80 runs, 80-plus RBIs at +140. My last player prop, we talked earlier in the show with David Aardsma about Roki Sasaki and how he kind of felt. I'm with David. I think that first start was all nerves out of Roki. I don't think that he is going to struggle as much as some other people in the industry do. I'm going to go Roki Sasaki to win 12-plus games, 12-plus wins for Roki Sasaki on what is a great Dodgers team, and he doesn't even have to pitch incredibly effectively to win a game. 12-plus wins for Roki Sasaki at +175. The only other team prop I have, the only other team play that I'm making in the National League this season, Jason, it's the St. Louis Cardinals under 75.5 wins. This team is struggling. This isn't to say that they're going to be struggling for a long time. Chaim Bloom is going to come in next offseason and completely overhaul a roster that has a lot of young talent on it. The problem is John Mozeliak is a sitting duck at this point. He has nothing to play for, nothing to win for, and Nolan Arenado is already 1 foot out the door. So I'm going to go St. Louis Cardinals under 75.5 wins, getting some nice plus money on that over with our friends at FanDuel.
A few prop bets I want to ask you about, or player props or season-long, award winners. Paul Skeens at +200. I mean, that is a prohibitive favorite for this early in the year. Can you even touch that?
It's a season too late, isn't it? If only he would have won it last season when we were on him at 200 to 1. And he came in second. Man. No, I'm not touching Paul Skeens to win the Cy Young. I'm not touching any award number that you want to touch that is under,
even Dylan Cruz? Not even Dylan Cruz?
Not right now, because here's the thing, Jason, and this is what I try to tell people, especially with these awards markets. Wait until Dylan Cruz goes 4 for 20 1 week in mid-May, and that number will balloon up to 8 to 1, and people forget about him for 2 weeks, and then he'll start doing what he kept doing. People will forget about that in the long run. You have to buy low with those kinds of futures.
I'll give you one awards bet I love. Ellie De La Cruz at 20-1 right now to win National League MVP.
It's a popular pick. I have heard a lot of people, both in the betting industry, in the fantasy industry, and just in baseball talk, expecting a lot out of Ellie this year. I could see it happening, and it's a good price.
I like it. It's a good price right now. And watch, that price will only decrease as he starts out the season and hopefully gets off to a good start. He's going to be fun to watch this year. That's going to do it for us today. Josh Berry on the show tomorrow, NASCAR winner over at the Pennzoil 400 this year. Thank you to David Aardsma, Vlad Lewis, Sam Yarnell, Kurt Helin, all of you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.